Put Brian here.
Yeah, could be least disruptive there. Put him at the door.
You want anyone to talk to?
Uh-oh.
Is that for me, Kara? Boy, it's quality. It's definitely quality.
Mike is hot?
All right, Mike is hot. 9 o'clock. All right, I call to order the counties of Warren and Washington Industrial Development Agency special meeting on June 4th, 2025 at 9 a.m. Just a reminder, we will let the little ones do what the little ones do and we'll keep going. All right, roll call, please, Ally.
Ginny Sullivan. Here. Nick Caimano.
Here.
Trisha Rogers. John Taplin.
Here.
Tim Robinson. Dan Bruno.
Here.
Juan Gonzalez.
Here.
We have a quorum. We have 7 out of 10.
Great, we have a form. We'll turn it over to Chuck to take us through the 80K REI project.
Okay, so we have the LeBoots here from ADK REI LLC. You have Nick here and guest Vincent.
I'm sorry, we're very family friendly. So ADK REI has a $3 million housing project on 18 Missouri Road. It's been a little bit of a long haul. We were here several months ago with the acceptance of the application. There are some issues getting to the planning board, and we had 2 public hearings. So here we are in June, finally ready to approve the final project. With that, I'll turn over to Nick. He'll talk about the project and he'll talk about the incentives and the community benefit afterwards. So Nick, all you.
Yeah, so we, as everyone's probably heard before a couple times, we have a existing 8-unit multifamily building. We have about an acre of developable lands out back. So that's where we're looking to build 16 new units. The total cost about $3 million. And we're looking to break ground as soon as possible. That's where we're at.
And we also, during this process, had a meeting with the town supervisor, Don Stroud. Do you want to talk a little bit about that meeting?
Yeah, so I believe he wanted to have some parameters on the workforce housing. And then we came up with a calculation that satisfied his wants for a calculation, some type of numerical value to put on workforce housing. So we kind of worked together to do that at like 120% of the HUD rate for the year. That's where these units will fall under that.
Yeah, just a comment. I think that you and Kara did a great job at the meeting representing the project and who you are as operators, and now you're getting the world of developing housing. I think he was a little, he in the past has expressed concern about incentives for housing projects, and I think he supported what you and Kara are doing for the good work that you're already doing, plus this new criteria that he agreed upon. So I thought that was a very successful meeting. That just for the record, what the specific criteria is, it's capping base rent at 120% of HUD annual fair market rent for 2 bedrooms in the Glens Falls MSA. So that's something every year the will clarify that the criteria has been met. With that, anything else to describe on the project?
Not really.
Okay, well, let me jump into the incentives and then we'll go to the community impact. So there are 3 incentives. First is property tax incentive in the form of pilot. The project qualified for a pilot within the IDA uniform tax exempt policy. Pilot payments will be determined 10 years with a 50% exemption of real property taxes and the value improvements for year 1 and 5% annual increase in years 2 through 10 after construction is completed. This totals an estimated $295,514 in payments over 10 years versus an estimated $407 $1,606 without the investment incentives. The estimated property tax benefit is $112,092 over 10 years. The second incentive, the state and county sales tax abatement to only 7% based upon $1,138,366. In purchases subject to sales tax, the estimated benefit is $79,686. The third benefit is mortgage tax abatement of 1% from an estimated mortgage loan of $25 million. The estimated mortgage tax benefit is $25,000. The proposed total gross investment incentives for ADK REI is an estimated $216,777 before fees. The IDA administrative fee is $27,404 for servicing the incentives, including 10-year pilot payments. The estimated legal fee is $10,000. The estimated total net investment incentive is $179,374. Any questions before I go into community benefit? As far as the community benefits, there is generating an estimated 20 local full-time construction jobs valued at over $1.1 million, generate construction material sales with estimated value of $1.1 million with 100% sourced within Warren and Washington counties, and create one full-time equivalent position, employment position. And then most importantly, create 16 new two-bedroom workforce housing units to support the community's growth demand for workforce housing, especially for employees of local businesses in response to regional housing shortage. So with that, any questions, comments, or concerns?
Can you define what that is, what number that is?
Yeah, we, as far as the workforce housing criteria, right? So the criteria we did was, just go back to it for a moment here. The criteria that we agreed upon with the town of Queensburg was that there would be cap of the base rent at 120% of HUD annual fair market value for the two bedrooms in the Glens Falls MSA. And that's something that Queensbury is comfortable with, and the books have agreed to. Is that? The estimate for 2025 is $1,622. And of course, every year that will change. So that next year, when they open the apartments, obviously it'll be a little bit higher than that, 1,622. Yeah, more than likely. Yeah, it could go the other way, but hopefully not. And by the way, that's base rent. That does not include special fees. There are special fees with pets and things like that. This is just the base cap on the base rent. So, yes. Any questions? Please.
I read that, who can rent these or who can get these? How do you determine that?
Let's let the books talk about their tenants and the process of.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously anybody who's qualified can rent the units, but most of our tenants are, you know, the working class, so people that work locally in the area, so like Hannaford and the surrounding businesses, but there's no
Contract or anything?
there's no exclusion to anyone who can't.
But you'll do it like a credit check and things like that on prospective tenants, is that?
Yeah, so we have our qualifications, so we're trying to check, background check, you know, employment verification, but, you know, anybody who wants to apply, as long as they meet the criteria can.
I only asked the question because these kind of things are needed. And we don't want to find out that after a while, people are sneaking in and they're really making $1 million a year. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no income qualifying component to those.
It's all based on, yeah, it's all based on the formula that Chuck outlined. Okay. So you could be living there, live there.
You could?
Sure.
Yeah, but your space is gonna be limited. You'll have your two-bedroom apartment. It's not gonna be a four-bedroom apartment. This is only two-bedroom apartments.
1 year lease, right?
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, do we require reporting on it?
Every year, we'll send them something for them to acknowledge, both the job and the criteria.
And what's when does the HUD get published?
That gets published around March, so yeah. It'll be a little bit like that.
Yeah,
that publication is for the current year. So we'll have the previous year, so they report on the previous year to say they adhered to the previous year number.
It's just, what's happened. Like, we need these kinds of things, and we want to make it. We want it to be great. But if somebody finds out it's not, then I just don't want to know.
Yeah, and one thing, as you know, the county has a housing task force, and we, Warren, Washington, IDA are on that task force for the very purpose of what's going on with this application, to provide incentives for private investment housing. So it's a great fit.
Yeah.
And I think for Supervisor Stroud, he was impressed that now there's another developer in the area helping with the housing crisis. There are many others that we all know. Most are now, they're already operators, and now they're developing. This is first development, correct?
Yeah, everything we bought was previously existed, so this will be our first new development.
Yeah, and that's a positive thing for Queensbury and Warren County and Washington, quite honestly.
You mentioned 2 public hearings and then an open session. Were there any substantial comments from them?
There were not any substantial. On the second public hearing, Jean Lapper came in via Zoom. She was observing. We asked her if she had any questions or concerns, and she had none.
Do we have anybody in online publicly now?
We do not.
Jean Lapper, by the way, I should mention, is a deputy supervisor for the town of Queensbury. And she was there, I think, at John Stroud's request. That's it.
And you went to the community benefit?
What's that?
We had a community benefit?
Yeah,
Okay.
name on the house.
All right. Does anybody have anything else? Any other questions? All right. Give me a second to get through the resolution reading before you start throwing up hands. All right. I will entertain a motion to accept the resolution taking action towards undertaking a certain project as defined herein, appointing ADK REI LLC, the company, as agent of the agency for the purpose of constructing and equipping the project facility as defined herein, and authorizing the execution and delivery of a project agreement and lease agreement and related documents by and between the agency and the company. Nick, second. Dan. Roll call, Ally, please.
Brian Campbell,
Yes.
Jenny Sullivan,
Yes.
Nick Caimano.
Yeah.
Trisha Rogers.
Yeah.
John Taplin, Tim Robinson. Dan Bruno,
Yeah.
Juan Gonzalez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passed. I would also like for the record note that board member Brian Campbell did walk in during the meeting. Congratulations.
Yeah, I voted without being.
Now, the only thing I do ask is that in order to continue to provide economic development opportunities to future folks, that we do have stringent reporting requirements. So every year, Ally will be connected with you on some of the things that we require. I ask if there is a sense of urgency with that, getting back to her, because that really is important for us to meet our state requirements and keep the doors open.
Absolutely.
Now the hard work begins. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, here you go.
Appreciate it.
9:13. Yeah, we don't have any further voting. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it.
But
All right, we'll turn it over to the committees and we'll give it up to the park chair for a quick update. Dan, any updates before we turn it over to Chuck on the outside?
But outside. He went. Probably 3 months. Storing. Shady. Soil. So I was over there yesterday. So looks good. Talked to guy. Give a quote on the lesson.
is it done? No, you,
Just, yeah, for the soil.
So just to add on to it, I was over on site on Friday. I was actually giving Kevin Mahoney a tour, our new board member. He unfortunately couldn't be here today. But we saw, Dan and I both saw that they were cleaning up the soil storage area. So we went in and visited Patrick, and he said that TDI realizes that it's been a huge effort with all the soil movement and testing, and everything's been okay. And they're like, we don't need to spend this money. So we thought they were going to continue through the whole year. And by the way, the rent for us is $8,600 a month. So that will be rent that will probably stop in July. So that's been a nice source for us, but they decided for cost cutting measures that it was no longer necessary. Yeah.
And in addition to that, there's a good possibility that it's part of, there's a lot of site. But adjacent to where Keywood's offices are, the rail, yep,
SMS.
SMS. SMS Rail has their trail stuff. There's a large amount of dirt that was placed there years ago out in the site. Dewater. And there's a good possibility that he would think they cover all of that. Uses stone material below.
Yeah, this is Dan's idea. It was a great idea. And talking with Patrick, he said the timing's perfect. They have need for doing some backfill. It is not good soil, but it's good fill. Means has rocks and things like that. And they are testing it. We should know results soon. Then they might come back and ask us to swing a contract for them to take it. And obviously we would not charge much. This is a win-win. They get the soil and we get to clear the land for further development. Hoping we'll have a proposal for our next board meeting in a week and a half.
So that's it for me. For now, side, the Airport Industrial Park, we are in the process of arranging a meeting with DEC to express our concern, mildly, with the new wetland regulation as far as buffer goes. It expanded from 50 feet to 100 feet. And that really affects the remaining developable, saleable areas. And we should know sometime soon when that meeting.
Yeah, our consultant, wetlands consultant is arranging the meeting. And by the way, to add to that, you might recall in the past, I said we had a party interested in the land. Since they are no longer interested, we now have a new party interested in the land. And the thing they said to us is, please clarify the wetland issue. And if it's favorable, we would be very interested in buying the 8 lots. So we have a prospective buyer, and we do need to. This gives us extra motivation to obviously get to the DEC as quickly as possible, hopefully with a favorable feedback on.
So they just want to clarify before they move.
Yeah, they like the land, they like the location. They have the financial resources, but they realize these wetland rules and issues have to be clarified, because right now it's a little fuzzy. It's a new rule effective January. And to Dan's point, the new buffer rule sort of blocks access to the developable land. So if they can't get to it, then they can't develop it. So the DEC has to give an exception in this case, or a waiver. So we'll have a meeting and see what they say. I mean, it is an industrial park. We're a little bit optimistic that, you know, all the factors are in our favor, but it just depends on how stringent the DEC.
There was somewhat of a similar situation in Schenectady County, I believe, and they were successful in DEC to, I don't say waive that rule.
Have we asked for a waiver?
That's what the meeting's gonna
Right,
be
well,
for.
the meeting,
That's what the meeting's for.
because they might do it without you.
Was that group that, down in Schenectady that had a lot of, behind them?
You talking about what Dan's referring to? I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Developers,
Uh,
Do you know anything about that?
What project was specifically there, so. I do know the difference is we're dealing with a different DEC office. The difference we're right now is the Schenectady project, they were dealing with a different DEC office and region that
Yes,
we will.
yeah, right, that's really for.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah.
Good point.
And unfortunately, while you would expect some consistency, it makes a difference. Right.
From the organization.
Good. What else?
Only other things to add are Labella is we did the change order for the water conceptual engineering. And we've asked them for a change order now for the on-site wastewater treatment. Now that we have the DEC giving us the criteria for what that treatment facility would need to do. Hopefully we'll have the change order request for our approval at our next board meeting. And that's really about it, unless there are any questions.
Nick?
Always big on advertising. This housing situation. People, builders like this man, ought to know that they can come here and get help. In order to give people who don't have a lot of money, housing. I'm talking about it all the time. God bless you. And they should, the public should know that.
Just to give you a little bit of comfort with the county and the EDC, they are talking to all the local developers. They've had meetings and workshops, so they are aware of what we can do with incentives. They're also aware of additional housing incentives that come out of all them. So we are engaging with developers.
Okay.
Yeah.
To Nick's point though, you know how banks put out signs saying finance side. National Care, NBC. Can we?
Yeah,
Can we
we-
do something like that? Is that?
We could talk with Little Bus about
Like
that,
that,
yeah.
to see if we can get a sign, some kind of incentives provided by, and we can move that sign around.
Right.
As we have projects. I mean, maybe worth getting three.
Yeah, because typically the bank would probably do it, right?
You need permission from the bank would ask permission.
Right. Yeah, all right, I'll take this.
The bank and us to. You likely not, because then you have to change.
But we can come up with our own sign, make it a logo, make it really
Because sometimes
simple,
it's like-
sponsored by or
Web.
incentivized by.
FWF doesn't have
Yeah.
finances, so boom. I mean, think about it. Put one up.
Yeah.
Beautiful fence right there.
But I think particularly in the housing side, because that's a huge community benefit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll reach out to.
So community benefit.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Housing though is very interesting with the price because if you, the down payment is a big difference on buying. That's the only real big difference. Once you get up to $1,800, $1,800, you may just well have a mortgage. So that's a fine line to me. What's that?
Shop mortgage late.
Well, yeah, I get it.
7%.
Right. But that's probably gonna come down at some point. I mean, that's just a big number, but the difference there is, coming up with the down payment, that's.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it needs to be a sign that's specific to any one particular industry, just incentives provided by.
Yep.
Warren, Washington County, and
Yeah.
Very simple.
something
Very
like
simple. Yeah.
that.
You guys should go see Frost, for example. Walk in his office and tell him, get somebody to write a story.
You talking about the Chronicle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we don't have any other papers, so
All right, anything else, Chad?
One thing to keep an eye on after that amount of soil, not that it's a big deal, but there are some of those, called rough piles on there that we have contracted with, Grasshopper to remove. So in the event that Kiewit takes some or all of that, some of those brush piles may.
Yeah, they should be gone up before they start digging. Grasshopper has also been put in contact with Keyword because they have to coordinate getting back there. So, yeah, duly noted. That's it on the parks.
Great. Does anybody have any other thing for the parks? Does anybody have any other business to bring up for the board?
I didn't recognize you today when you walked in. What's new?
I'm in the hayfield. Between raindrops.
Are there any public comments? Do you have anybody in the public online?
We do not.
All right. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. And Dan, second, Brian, All in favor?
24
Meeting
minutes.
adjourned.
Well
There you
done.
go. Thanks, Jason.